agriculture is one of the core thematic areas for many of these drone startups that we see in India. So the challenge and the opportunity that we have on hand is how to build this ecosystem. How do we build partnership? How do we do more pilots? How do we bring multiple stakeholders together so that we see a significant acceleration in the pace in which drones are being used in the agriculture space. So that was the whole idea of conceiving and designing this event, and I'm hopeful that this will be a start and we will see a lot of action going forward. And our intent is to do more such episodes. Because drones are used for multiple applications in agriculture, like data collection, crop health monitoring, and other stuff. So we want to continue the dialogue as we go forward, and happy to bring other stakeholders also into the discussion. So with that, we'll get started. Maybe I can start with a brief introduction to all the panelists. We have Dr. Ravi Prakash. He'll be joining us in some time. He is on the way. Dr. Ravi Prakash is the plant protection advisor with Directorate of Plant Protection, Quarantine and Storage at Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. We have Dr. Vidhu Kampurath. He's the Joint Director for Plant Health Engineering at National Institute of Plant Health Management. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the event. We have Mr. Shailendra Singh, who is the Director at Barola Farmer Producer Company, which is an FPO. Shailendra, thanks for joining us today. Then we have two corporates. We have Mr. Dinesh Sharma, who heads Grower Digital Connect at Bayer Crop Life Sciences. And we have Mr. Ashish Jangale. He's the head of precision farming at Farm Division at Mahindra & Mahindra. And both of them have significant experience on the precision agriculture, digitization, and both are very keen observers of the drone space. Then my friend Bhaskar Reddy, who heads Syngenta Foundation in India. And of course, he's credited for developing thousands of agri-entrepreneurs in Indian market, and I'm sure a lot of those entrepreneurs can potentially be used for drone application purposes. Then we have Mr. Smith Shah. He's the president of Drone Federation of India. And of course, DFI has done a phenomenal job in developing policy and advocacy for drone applications across sectors. Welcome, Smith, to the event. Then we have Mr. Deepak Bharadwaj. He's the co-founder and CEO of IoTech World Aviation. And last but not the least, my friend and ex-colleague Asitava Sen, who's the CEO of Crop Life India. And he'll be moderating the session today. So with that, I'll hand over to Asitava to take the discussion forward. And once again, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Shailendra. So I hope I am audible very clearly.
You are.
Thank you. So to do justice to the time that we have, I will straight away get started. So I'm very honored to be moderating this panel discussion on this very hot topic with all of you eminent speakers and stakeholders from the whole ecosystem of drones, particularly with respect to agrochemical spraying through drones. So as we know all, so what I'm going to do, just before asking questions to the panelists one by one, just to give a snapshot of what has happened so far. Hemendra already mentioned some of them, and also then talk about how we plan to run this panel discussion. I won't take more than 4 minutes, hopefully. So as we all know that, precision agriculture technologies, which drone is a part of precision agriculture, can be a huge factor for a paradigm shift in terms of improving agriculture productivity, quality of the produce, and consequently the impact on farmers' income and livelihood. So we should see this larger picture, what it brings on the table for the agriculture ecosystem. And particularly with respect to Krishi drones, I have just a list of important milestones that we have achieved. Hemendra already mentioned some of them, but I'll just talk about, just mention some of them so that it gives an idea about how quickly, how much we have moved on policy front in terms of application of Krishi drones or drones for agriculture particularly. So, drones began registration on the Digital Sky platform in March 2020. Then in June 2020, India became the first country to use drones in the night against desert locusts. And FAO actually recognized India as the first country to use agriculture drones at night. Then in November 2020, the UAS rules, Unmanned Aircraft System Rules 2020 were released. In February 21, 26 green zones were announced by the Ministry of Civil Aviation. These green zones essentially means far relaxed requirement in terms of operation of drones, providing pre-information and things like that. A lot of exemptions were given. Then in September 2021, PLI scheme, production-linked incentive scheme for drones was announced, along with vision for the government, by the government that India should be a hub for global hub for drone manufacturing. Then, most importantly, in the agrochemical spraying context, the SOP, standard operating protocols and guidelines for drones in agrochemical spraying were released by the government in December 2021, and this is where CropLife, the Association of Agrochemical Companies and other important stakeholders like drone manufacturers, DFI and others, played an active consultative role in terms of providing suggestions, global best practices, and so on and so forth. Then the drone finance scheme for micro entrepreneurs and FPOs through the Agri Investment Fund was announced in January 2022 by the ministry. Then the budget announcement for Krishi drones came in February end 2022. And finally, 100 Krishi drones were launched by the Honorable Prime Minister in February 2022. So this gives a good idea about how fast, as I said, and how much we have moved. It's an exceptional example of collaborative policy making, different departments, different arms of the government joining hands. In this case, Ministry of Civil Aviation, DGCA, Ministry of Agriculture, the CIBNRC, the regulator for the agrochemical industry, and agrochemical companies, drone companies, all of them were part of the expert committee. They sat together, and as a result of which we achieved this fast-paced policy development. Now, just to talk about why Krishi drones are so important, particularly from the point of view of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, it touches upon several SDGs. Firstly, it is application of agrochemical through drones vis-a-vis conventional knapsack sprayers is much more precise and accurate. So you are not spraying anywhere else rather than where it is actually required, where the pests and diseases and weeds or whatever are there. So not only lack of wastage of agrochemical, but also it is not going to unintended areas. Number two is it is 20 times more efficient. So in the same time, you can spray 20 acres or hectares of land vis-a-vis conventional spraying. Thirdly, it is more water efficient. It helps in water conservation because the material is sprayed in a more concentrated format compared to conventional spraying. Fourth, it removes operator exposure to a great extent, which is a main cause for accidental poisoning through pesticide when operator is not following the instructions or not wearing PPE kits. So in this case, since it is automatically applied from air, the exposure element of operators goes away to a significant extent. Lastly, this is a major way of generating entrepreneurship and jobs in rural India because we are not expecting farmers, individual smallholder farmers to buy drones. So obviously, there will be qualified operators who are going to be trained, certified, and form a drone application as a business model. So therefore, there is a lot of opportunity of development of jobs and entrepreneurship. So you see so many advantages we clearly see for drone application. And as I said, the SOP and guidelines are in place, which is a great development. So more or less, the policy framework for agrochemical spraying is in place. However, now the next step is how can adoption of the technology really takes a fast-track adoption in the ground by farmers. So things like how farmers should be aware that such a technology exists. How can drones be available, manufactured in India or assembled in India? How could we have micro entrepreneurs who are going to be trained and certified for application of drones? How do you generate demand? How does business model gets developed? How do you get approvals of products quickly from the regulator? So these are some of the things which all of us, all stakeholders who are represented today in the meeting, have to work together in a collaborative manner to ensure that this ecosystem gets quickly developed. And we all know the advantages, and we also know that any new technology has its risks, and therefore, for a risk mitigation point of view, if you are extra cautious or extra conservative, it might take 2 to 3 years for the technology to actually get started. But given the advantages, I believe we need to work towards a seeding program where at least trials, experiments, and learning can start taking shape. Given the fact that this is a new technology for India and there is very little knowledge with any stakeholder, be it government, be it industry, nobody really have tons of precedents and past experience, and all of us are on a steep learning curve. So how can we work collaboratively together with one single objective? How can we fast track the adoption of this great technology and not lead to a situation where it takes 3 years for the first drone to start spraying agrochemical is the key motto. And of course, ThinkAg and CropLife would like to continue this discussion. Today is just the beginning, not the end. We'll see how we can take this forward together. And some rules and guidelines for our panel discussion today. This is more for the speakers. First of all, I welcome all of you again for giving your time. I also see close to 200 participants, which Emmanuel talked about, from various parts of the world, various types of companies, farmers, and all that are there. Thank you for your time. And we would encourage a very open, transparent dialogue and exchange of views and information within our panel and also through the question answer session. I propose to ask 2 rounds of question to all the panelists. Each round, typically I would request panelists to restrict their response within 5 to 6 minutes. So in 2 rounds, we have about 10 minutes per speaker, but 5 plus 5. And so that it helps us ensure that we are running on time and we are not overshooting, and also everybody gets equal opportunity to talk. Also, I would request all panelist speakers to talk about level real learning, anecdotal evidences, practical knowledge, which gives innovative solution to some of the challenges which we all know exist still. So with that, without spending any more time, I would start this panel discussion. Has Dr. Ravi Prakash joined? Can somebody tell me, Abhijit? Or is he still on the way? I think he is still on his way. As far as I understand, he is coming from the IARI, where inauguration of the Krishi Mela is happening, but he is on his way and he should be joining in another 5-10 minutes. And I will ask the questions relevant for the Ministry of Agriculture to him when he joins. But in the interest of time, may I start with Dr. Vidhu Kampurat, who's Joint Director, Plant Health Engineering in NIPHM. So Dr. Vidhu, welcome first of all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So we understand that NIPHM has been asked by the Ministry of Agriculture to develop a consistent, standardized training and certification program for pilots and drone operators. So it would be good to know what is the contour of this training program in terms of duration, mode of imparting the training, and so on and so forth. And also, second part of the question is, how do you roll out this curriculum once it is developed, not only through NIPHM, but also through other institutions across the country, so that, we can get as many, operators, as many FPOs, as many entrepreneurs to get trained in a shortest possible time. So over to you, Dr. Vidhu.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you, Think KG and Crop Life for inviting us for this platform. Because of course, as Mr. Astava has already pointed out, drone is the hot topic now, as far as agrochemical spraying is concerned. So, as far as NIPHM is concerned, I don't know how far people are aware about NIPHM. I would like to just tell something on NIPHM also. It is National Institute of Plant Health Management. We are a national level capacity building institute in the area of plant health management. So when you say plant health, one critical component in the plant health management is the pest and diseases. And most of our programs are oriented towards monitoring the health of the crop from the pests and diseases. So whatever contests are there, whatever contours of training are there, which is directly or indirectly oriented towards the plant health management, we readily accept that. So of course, drone is not an exception. So we have at NIPHM, we actually started this drone business at least 2 years ago in the R&D sector, of course. We developed a drone with our association with a startup company, and we successfully tested in our field also. And we had done some experiments with the base, of course, only one crop. So far, we have tested in maize crop only. But in continuous 2 to 3 crop seasons, we have tested, and we have come up with some solutions also how to being operating in different heights and speed of operation, etc. So with that background of knowledge, when we were asked to develop our input and even give our input in the standard operating procedures after the drone policy was announced in August 2021, we gave our inputs also, and based on that, ministry also asked us to develop a module, especially for the agrochemical space. So based on that, we have developed a specific module of 5-day duration for especially in agrochemical spraying. So that we have recommended, and incidentally, the ministry has accepted this as a training module, and a module which can be accepted for all the institute who will be conducting the such kind of training programs for agrochemical spraying. But if you see the standard operating procedures released by ministry for any kind of drone application, especially in agriculture sector, as far as agrochemical spraying is concerned, because that is what we are discussing now, the person should have a valid drone pilot license. So how do we get the drone pilot license? For that, DGCA has given already the 5 to 8 days they are telling, because depending upon the requirement of the practical experience, in which 2 days are completely theory oriented. The next 1 day is on simulator training, and next the assembly and disassembly of the drone and repair and maintenance, repair and maintenance of the drones, followed by the actual flying practices. So this is the 5-day module. And earlier, after completing this training, the institute were, after completing the training, the person has to apply for DGCA to get the drone license. Now it has changed. The onus lies on the training institute itself. So after completing the training, the institutes will be giving the training certificate, and that is valid for, if he is successfully completing that, it is valid for 10 years as per the new DGCA guidelines. So the honors lies on the training institutes, and I think we are equipped for that. Soon our drone academy, we are going to open the drone academy, and hopefully our DGCA mandatory inspection also is due. So once it is completed, we'll be able to complete that first part. So the first part is over. That part, the person is equipped for getting the license. So that part is over. Then comes to the agrochemical spraying. So when you come to agrochemical spraying, the person will be knowing how to spray. But after that, he should be having the basic understanding of how the what do you call it? The formulation is required, how the nozzles have to be arranged, and what is the importance of the nozzle. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. There was some disturbance there. That's why I got that out. So the importance of the nozzles and the calibration, the basic, one of the major component in any agrochemical spraying is the calibration, which many of the stakeholders are not at all taking care. They are not aware also. So that kind of issues are there. So that one, then again, safety guidelines. What are the safety issues? Because Mr. Asida was telling that advantage, as one of the advantages, you will not be going near to the drone. Of course, that is only applicable when you are going for the automated mode, autopilot mode. Otherwise, if you are operating with the joystick and all, then it is again there. But still, that safety guidelines, what are the requirement of the safety guidelines, and even the care and maintenance also. So these issues have to be taught. So this module will be of 5-day duration again. So these two modules together, it will be a 10-day module. So which is mandatory, I think. Otherwise, the why I am telling because this training is essentially is only because I would like to just tell our experience in agrochemical spraying training practices, even in the manual operated agricultural sprayers also. We have been conducting this pesticide application techniques and safety measures training program for the various agriculture officers, horticulture officers, extension officers across the country, because we are basically a trainer of training the trainers institute. Of course, of late we are directly training the farmers also, but still our major mandate is training the trainers only. So there we have seen that most of the stakeholders who are operating these agriculture sprayers also directly or indirectly, they are not basically aware of many of the factors which needs to be critically taken care while agrochemical spraying is conducted. So in that respect, training is very, very essential. So that is why when you are going ahead with training, it has to be a comprehensive training for understanding the intricacies of spraying, so that later on problems will not be coming. See, when you are talking about these problems, I would like to mention the Yavatmal incident which happened in 2017, or if you go back to history, the endosulfan issues because of the aerial spraying happened in Kerala, Kasaragod and all. So these issues will be there coming if you are not operating it in a proper manner. So training is compulsory. Without that, issues will be coming, because that is why this training, this pesticide application techniques and safety measures training, we are conducting almost 5 to 6 programs every year, and a lot of subscription is there for this training program also. So what I would suggest is this training has to be compulsorily taken. Otherwise, the whole objective of pushing the drones into the market will be backfiring us only. So that cannot be happening. And one more thing is our preparedness for this program. Of course, as I told, we are almost in line of completing the required formalities for getting the procedural clearance from DGCA. Once it is done, we will be able to kickstart. All other formalities are over. Mostly in a couple of months, we will be able to completely start the training program in drone. We are planning for a batch of 20 in one batch, so that 10 days duration like that we are planning. But of course, we do understand that we alone cannot completely complete the targets entire India. So for that, since we are trainer of the Trainers Institute, we have a lot of sister concerned organizations also from ICR and state agriculture universities. So we will be collaborating with them also, and because most of the ICR Institute, they have already started R&D programs in drone application. And also SAUs also, especially Acharya Engineer Agriculture University, Telangana, PJT SAU, all these institutes have already got sufficient knowledge in this agrochemical spraying through drone. So we can easily collaborate with them, and we will be able to continue the program. I think I've done through this question.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Bidu. I think you have given a good idea about why it is required, why it is mandatory, and how we are approaching it, and how do you also want to roll it out eventually. So it's a great beginning, very important to have this aspect addressed, which is very nice. Dr. Ravi Prakash ji, Plant Protection Advisor, Ministry of Agriculture, has joined. So Dr. Ravi ji, thank you very much for joining, for finding time out. I know you are busy today at Pusa, but thank you very much for your time, sir. So I have a couple of questions for you. I don't want to make you wait for the whole 90 minutes. You may not have the time. So let's get started straight away, sir. So a lot of good policies have already taken place. I was just talking about in my introductory remark how quickly and how collaboratively we were able to develop the SOP and the guidelines, which were announced in December with participation from all stakeholders in a collaborative and consultative manner. So having done that, what are the other areas you feel the government can support for some more time, essentially to ensure that these policies are actually converted into real action on the ground in terms of actual application starts happening as quickly as possible and as rightly as possible, if I may call it. So some things like, because there is a lot of people from agrochemical industry present today, and they are very keen to know whether there'll be some kind of a fast track or a separate queue application system for the product application, the agrochemical product for drone application. We also had a issue about the minimum plot size that was mandated in the SOP for the trials. And also very important factor is how can we create a single window clearance for the subsidies that are made available for FPOs and entrepreneurs for purchase of drones. Because I believe still now, people have to run around here and there. So these are just some of the examples, but overall, what is the government's perspective on what more can be done so that this can actually take shape on the ground, sir? Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sen, and good afternoon to everyone. And I am sorry for the joining delay because of some other engagements. There was a short delay. I think this drone is, we all of know that mechanization farming for planting, harvesting, grading, processing are successfully used in our country. Now, the drone deployment for crop protection in India is new in the country, and the country is gaining experience, and scientific studies are being carried out, data supporting for use drone application of pesticides for crop protections are being generated at SAU and ICR institutions. And drones are going to be important for increasing efficacy of application of crop protection chemicals by reducing manpower requirement, reducing time of application, reducing volume of water, quantity of chemical, and saving drift to environment, along with the reducing exposure to human being to hazardous chemical. You all know that drone use will also help farmers in surveillance and monitoring their crops, in identifying presence of pest, soil conditions, or any other damage. This way, drone technology has immense potential to contribute in overall food security of the nation with its careful and optimal use. To facilitate the use of drone technology in agriculture in line with the government policy, and thrust the increasing the use of drone in different sectors, Government of India has released standard operating procedures for use of drone application with pesticides for crop protection and for spraying soil and crop nutrients in agricultural, forestry, and non-crop areas, etc. During December 21, this SOP was released by Honorable Minister Sri Narendra Singh Tomarji. The SOP has paved the way forward and will render guidance to the stakeholders, pilot operators, users, regulators, while undertaking safe and effective control of pest and disease management by drone-based pesticide application. The Central Insecticide Board has also approved the use of pesticide with only DGCA certified drone for agricultural use, based upon the broader guidance under the government approved SOP document as amended from time to time. And registration committee approved guidelines and procedures prescribing registration requirement of pesticides for drone application for using drone in agriculture, forestry, and non-cropped area under the Insecticide Rules 1971 of the Insecticide Act 1968. You know that the board has also approved constitution of a technical committee for examining the proposals submitted by the applicants for using approved pesticide with drone for its consideration, approval, or otherwise before carrying out the spraying activities. The committee shall also apprise the findings to the regular board CIB meetings for the considering of ex post facto approval of decisions taken by the subcommittee on biannual basis in preceding months. Board has also agreed to the proposal of registration committee on providing intimation about proposed data generation to the Secretariat of CIB and RC in advance. The registration committee has prescribed the guidelines for registration requirements of pesticide for drone application on priority. It has also finalized the test protocols for phytotoxicity, for crop safety, evaluation, for bioefficacy, evaluation of pesticide formulation on crop when applied through drone, and also prescribed the procedure and manner of application of registration requirement of pesticide with drone. On these things, so far the recent development is that more than 7 to 8 companies they have already approached the directorate for generating the data and trial. You all know that this there are some critical parameters is given in the SOP which has to be followed, that only DGCA approved certified drones are permitted to use in agriculture, and drone must have capability to handle the load and volume. Drone with accurate sensor of the height and GPS accuracy must be there. And there are again small parameters and critical parameters are mentioned in the SOP. And about the agrochemicals also, it is very clearly mentioned that only approved agrochemicals by CIB and RC shall be used. And here again, government is giving priority for the already registered pesticides, so that this registered pesticide with the minimum data also can be used through the drones. So it is going to be a new development in the field of agriculture, in the mechanization of the plant protection activities in the farm. It is not only the spraying of the pesticide in the field, it will also help to monitor the crop in the standing crops. And it is going to help the farmers which has some difficult type of crops like sugarcane, where it is very difficult to take the plant protection measures, like rice field where a lot of muddy field is there, where easily it can be sprayed. Likewise, slowly it can increase to our other commercial crops, plantation crops, large scale areas. All these things are there, which is going to be very much useful for the farming sectors. And I'm sure that with this use of this technology, a lot of development will be taking place in the field of the plant protection. With these few words, I thank you, the organizer for inviting me to share this latest development of the drone technology with you. And as already I informed that more than 8 to 10 companies they have approached and they are in progressing for the data generation. Thank you, and back to Mr. Sen.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Raviji. You have explained very nicely what is the current status in terms of and the process and the thinking behind the product application, registration application system. So one specific question is, the ministry came out with the subsidy scheme. So do you want to share anything more on that in terms of how it can be streamlined further, if at all? Secondly, any thoughts how the ministry may play any role in terms of awareness generation so that more and more farmers are aware of this technology? And any suggestion for the industry as such? Industry meaning, sir, not just the agrochemical companies, but also we have companies from the drone manufacturing, operations, FPOs, and everybody who are the important stakeholders.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sen. First of all, I think that this government through registration committee may further decide upon the prioritization of the drone-based application for pesticide, these things. And moreover, it may also consider granting ad hoc approval for a specific time period with the condition as deemed fit for facilitating the ad hoc approval for already registered pesticides. Because pesticides are already registered, only the approval is read. So government may consider that for ad hoc approval, so that this this can be in a faster mode, it can be implemented. Other thing is that again, for the popularizing of this drone technology, government may throw the extension functionaries and other farmer-centric programs, including the farmers field schools, may sensitize the farmers and can create more awareness about the positive use of the drones, which will help the industry. Moreover, with the help of other departments, including the Department of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, also take help of the print and visual media for further disseminating the positive and beneficial use of drone technology in agriculture. And I would just say here that from industry, it is expected that the time may come out with scientific, within the time they must come out with the scientifically robust data as per the CIB approved guidelines for facilitating the faster registration of drone compatible pesticides formulation for the benefit of the Indian farmers. So here again, I should reiterate that more compatible pesticides, because registered pesticides are already there. So we have to have whatever the minimum data is required as per the guidelines has to be generated. And then this should come to the farmers and made available to the farmers for the benefit use. I have just recently visited the Krishi Mela, our Mela, which is being inaugurated by the Honorable MOS Agriculture Minister. And I have seen that more than some 5-6 stall with the live drone, these things, and huge crowd I could see on the stalls where the drone is there. And with the drone, many farmers are interested. They are asking and raising this question. So it is really very interesting that before coming in a large way and in a commercial way in the field, our farmers are so eager to accept this technology. And I am sure that with the help of the industry and those are engaged in the development of this, promoting this drone technology, it will be a new era for the mechanization in agriculture in field of the crop plant protection. Thank you, Mr. Sen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think again your remark that CIB is considering ad hoc registration for already approved products, which is a great step. You also talked about how farmers' curiosity are already very high and how further the mechanism can work on generating awareness and making this technology popular. You also gave some valuable suggestion to the industry on what role they can play. So once again, on behalf of ThinkAg, CropLife, and all the other co-panelists, thank you very much for taking time out for this important meeting. And if you have more time, you can please stay on. We have very interesting speakers.
I'm very happy to see more than 200%, Mr. Sen. Really, it is a very interesting thing that a large number of people are connected with your programs, and here it is an interesting programs. Still, I have some time. I will be connected and just because I myself is interested. You know that since I was associated with the SOP and all, so it is a kind of my own interest also to have the views, to hear the views of different stakeholders. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Most welcome. Please be with us for some more time as much as you can. So moving on, my next question is to Dinesh Sharma from Bayer Crop Science. Dinesh, you're there?
Yes, very much there, Sitava.
Very good. So Dinesh, from the point of view of a major agrochemical company, on behalf of all the agrochemical companies, what do you think, two questions, you can answer them together, and then I come back to you if time permits for another question later. But firstly, what needs to be done to generate more awareness about the drone application for agrochemical among farming communities? Dr. Ravi Prakash ji mentioned something which the government can do, but what else can the industry and other stakeholders do to generate demand and through awareness? And second question is, what are the ground level challenges you see for scaling up the drone application for agrochemical spraying, and what are some of your suggestions to overcome those challenges? These are my two questions to you, Dinesh.
Great. Thanks for asking these questions, Sitava, and thank you very much for giving this opportunity also. nice words and kind of assurance have come from Dr. Ravi Prakash as well. I mean, I draw a lot of confidence in this technology here. So let me pick up the first one. How do we create awareness here? I mean, and basic goals always right. Yeah. I mean, seeing is believing. This is what we see. We have been talking about benefit of technology. Asitava, you yourself have enlisted number of benefits, be it safety, sustainability, productivity, employment potential, and the kind of labor shortage, I mean, which is there in a rural area during at times of the season, and this technology is going to address it. I mean, farmers have heard it, up to some extent they have seen it. I mean, but then this benefit realization needs to be created for a normal customer out there, and there's a lot needs to be done to develop the belief into the technology for this. We truly appreciate the inclusion of drone technology in SMAM. I mean, submission for agriculture mechanization. And we clearly see that intention here to build capacity for demonstration, large scale demonstrations, wherein all interest, be it academia, be it FPO, be it agri graduates can come forward and build large amount of capacities to have wide scale demonstration of this technology to develop and the confidence into the technology. Bigger question is, what else needs to be done? And you yourself have touched it. I mean, how do we ease out that all these stakeholders, the intended benefits of this scheme is taken, and the real capacities are deployed at ground as well. So this needs to be done. This technology particularly, I mean, it's a sophisticated one. I mean, it's not a tractor which anyone can drive, so there has to be a skilled professionals are required to run this technology. And since it's a sophisticated technology, right infrastructure is also required to support the right experience in front of in eyes of the farmers, I mean, out there. If that experience is not right, probably will not be able to create a right kind of perspective or perception about the technology going forward. So a lot needs to be done on that aspect. We truly believe that a lot of, private players like us having capacities, trying to build captive capacities around drone technology as well, can collaborate in a big way. We have our more than 1,000 Better Life centers. I mean, the rural entrepreneurs who are working in across the country. More than, couple of hundred FPOs, we are working with them, and a good amount of capacity building we are trying to do out there with our captive capacity, and same time the encouragement to rural entrepreneurs also to build those capacities out there. So in a public-private partnership kind of a thing, we can encourage a lot more a wider scale demonstration for this technology. And believe me, best endorsement, endorsement comes from eye of customer. Whatever demonstration you do, but if once a customer sees it on his own field live, then only he'll be able to say, and that word of mouth is particularly very important. And I draw a lot of confidence that the required approval is on the way for us also to start giving that experience to our farmers out there. And once we have this word of mouth, I believe it's just a ripple effect that we need to create through various channels, and together in industry will be able to do that. So that's a first piece, where together we can do a lot to create awareness about the technology, to establish the benefit of the technology, to establish the real value of the technology. It's not just a replacement of a knapsack sprayer, but far bigger and larger problems we are going to address with this technology. So that's one set. The challenges going forward are also not simple. I mean, we have just we truly appreciate the efforts, of the government's vision, the eminent efforts of the policymakers who are there to open up the space, and a lot needs to be learned. Going forward, especially when the ecosystem is also developing parallelly, be it ag tech, technology standpoint, be it knowledge about agriculture standpoint also. Parallelly, the ecosystem is also developing. We see, we are going to face a lot of challenges also, but we are pretty sure that we'll be able to address those challenges as well. Biggest piece, license to operate. DGC approved machine is there. Dr. Prakash has already given the assurance that approval is also on the way. So once we have the chemistries available with us, we'll be able to do that. Probably that first and foremost challenge to kickstart our operations or give the experience to our customers is going to be addressed soon. We see apart from this also, in similar fashion, we see, let's say, farmer need 4 to 5 chemistries to apply, or let's say multiple uses. If 1 or 2 chemical is approved, given permissions, it still needs its dependency is still on conventional methods for spraying. This is also a kind of a deterrence wherein he has to depend on all possible conventional or new technologies for applying the chemistry or applying the input into his field. How we'll sync the technology with his regular practice, this is again is going to be a big challenge, and over a period of time with our learnings, we are going to address that as well for sure. I've talked about sophisticated skill set requirement to address these. Service network to serve and maintain these machines. We are talking about entrepreneurship development, wide scale of capacities across the country going forward. We also need to be very cautious that we parallelly gear up the servicing network also along with these capacity deployment, because we are in a seasonal business. If machine is down for a couple of days, then entire opportunity is gone. That's a bigger concern, wherein total utilization and total experience is also is going to be at stakes. So hence its availability and serviceability both are needs to go hand in hand. Bigger aspect is related with operational. We do see a lot of operational challenges also, and right from, we are a big country with lots of crops and diversities out there. Land holdings are small. To run, we need to have a sizable field to complete the required acres in a day. Serviceability of field is also another challenge, which also brings challenge on overall efficiency. Let's say I'm reaching into a village, but from one village to one field to another field, if there's no approach road, there are blockages in between, there are challenges associated with technology itself with respect to endurance and all. So all those will affect the overall efficiency and utilization of machines, thereby economics for entrepreneur also. So we are going to see a lot of it, and we are pretty sure with a lot of developed experience going forward as we move on, keep on adding learnings in different crops, develop crop specific SOPs, the operational SOPs. From that standpoint, we would be improvise and give right package to our entrepreneurs for our captive learnings as well going forward to address this challenge. Critical aspect is utilization of asset. We are talking about entrepreneurship development going forward. End of the day, we are into a seasonal business, and these assets needs to be utilized. To give a sustainability angle from economic standpoint for entrepreneur also. That is going to be very critical, because no innovation can sustain in a long run unless it can sustain economically to itself. So utilization, depending upon the window of application that is there, is going to be very, very critical, from those aspects.
So understood. So, maybe we can come back to you unless you have something to quickly close in 1 or 2 minutes to give chance to the others. Yeah.
That's perfectly fine. I've just summed up what I wanted to share here. But we are sure, we are on right track to kind of address these challenges as well, Istava. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dinesh. I think you raised some very relevant and interesting ground level issues and important bottlenecks and how it can be overcome. So again, I'll move in the interest of time. Next request would be to Mr. Ashish Jangale from Mahindra. Ashish, you're there?
I am there. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ashish, we can hear you very clearly. So now, from a Mahindra perspective, Ashish, as a major player, not only as a manufacturer of farm equipment, but also as a drone as a service or farming as a service provider, how do you see Mahindra's role is, first of all, in this business of drones application for agrochemical spraying, and how are you contributing with other stakeholders to develop the ecosystem particularly in terms of developing use cases, protocols, modus operandi, demand generation, etc., etc. So over to you, Ashish.
Thank you, Asitawa. So I think Mahindra has been working intensely on establishing farming as a service vertical over the last several seasons. This vertical is known as Krishi, and we have about 100 centers across India. Through these Krishi centers, we already have a tractor and implement rental business. Krishi centers are in direct contact with farmers, and they provide, beyond the tractor and implement, they also offer farmers with crop advisory, agri inputs such as seeds, chemicals, and also drip irrigation systems. Naturally, the drone spraying services would be offered to farmers through these Krishi centers. What we have done over last few crop seasons is conducting several multi-crop season-long trials in different crops to establish drone protocols and chemical protocols. What we have learned while doing spraying on the field is we have to get all aspects of drone spraying correct. So for example, what speed does the drone fly? What is the droplet size? What is the distance from crop canopy, so that the disease is contained and the bioefficacy is equivalent or better than the tractor mounted sprayer? Or how do we extract the best from a battery through its single charge, so that the drone is spraying longer than replacing the battery during the course of spraying? We are also trying to understand crop-specific chemical protocols to avoid scorching of crop canopy and the effect of increased concentration of chemicals due to limited tank capacities of these drones. Now, these drone protocols and crop specific anomalies and chemicals come together to form a SOP, which we intend to publish and give it out to rental entrepreneurs or our partners, so that so that these protocols ensure that maximum number of acres are being done through the day. There is absolutely no damage to the crop canopy, the farm yields, and it also ensures the safety of drones as well as the operators. While we are doing this, we are simultaneously creating pedagogical material and generating awareness amongst farmers as soon as we learn everything. And we are not just promoting the merits of drone spraying. There are use cases and crops where drone spraying may not be suitable. And we candidly explain that to a farmer. Now, in terms of how do we plan to work with the stakeholders and create a conducive ecosystem, all of this was possible because we have partnered with several drone manufacturers, drone service providers, agrochemical companies, government institutes. Typically, we were and we will be open to collaborating with drone manufacturers to increase the reliability of drone, to lower the cost of technology, the cost of hardware, manufacturing these drones easily, designed for manufacturability, with agrochemical companies to optimize chemical quantities, or even to work with them for drone specific formulations. The idea is to have twice as many acres with one flight with half the chemical. We have and we want to partner with Indian startup ecosystem, especially the AI and analytics startups, to be able to develop algorithms that monitor crop health, crop anomalies. We want to work with institutes, government institutes, educational institutes that have intimate understanding of crop agronomy, crop pathology, so that we discover these high value use cases for drone technology. And obviously all of this is possible, when possible and can be done at scale when we partner with rental entrepreneurs who are willing to execute this at a local level using the protocols and the modus operandi that is being developed for them. Over to you, Asitava.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, thank you very much. My battery is running low, Joydeep. If you are around, please switch on the power, please. Thank you very much, Ashish, for this very interesting intervention. I will come back to you if there is more time for another question. But let me move to Bhaskar Reddy. He's the Executive Director of Syngenta Foundation, which is doing pioneering. Bhaskar, are you there, first of all? Yeah, hi. So, Syngenta Foundation is doing some pioneering work in terms of creating a model and also scaling up agri-entrepreneurs who are providing various services to the farmers, FPOs in a catchment area. So what role do you see for agri-entrepreneurs that you are developing and others who are developing agri-entrepreneurs for this particular application? And what support may be required to overcome some of the challenges which AEs, agri-entrepreneurs might have for this particular application? What do you, Bhaskar?
Yeah, thanks, Stava. I'd like to thank ThinkAg and CropLife for inviting the Syngenta Foundation to this program. Stava, I think, look, when we talk about drones, and especially if you're talking about tens of thousands of drones to be operational in the country, I think the best route would be the entrepreneurial route. How do we, empower entrepreneurs to provide this as a service? And again, I think the role of village rural youth would become very critical, because I think it's from a sustainability point of view, it becomes difficult for an urban operators to travel into villages day in and day out and operate these drones. So I think if you can make it a hyper local agri entrepreneurs and employed rural youth in the villages, I think this will be a fantastic story for from a job creation point of view for rural youth, and also sustainability from a low cost service provision from a local hyper local youth point of view. So that's the reason I think the work that we are doing in the foundation on creating thousands of agri entrepreneurs becomes we can explore the opportunity here for how we can make some of our entrepreneurs as drone operators and drone entrepreneurs. Today, Syngenta Foundation jointly with Tata Trust and IDH have created a new foundation called Agri Entrepreneur Growth Foundation, which specializes in developing entrepreneurs. And so far, we have 7,000 entrepreneurs and engaging 700,000 or 7 lakh farmers. And it has an ambitious goal to develop 100,000 entrepreneurs or 1 lakh entrepreneurs over a period of next 5 to 6 years. So given that drone entrepreneurs could be one major chunk of entrepreneurs that we could look at developing, at least in a couple of thousand entrepreneurs for drone operators. The role becomes very critical and important for entrepreneurs because the demand generation would be seamless. Somebody sitting in the same village would exactly know which farmer, how many farmers, what are the planting dates, and what are the pest infestations, and how they can quickly, seamlessly deliver a service. So that seamless demand generation for a hyper-local entrepreneur can be unmatched with any kind of other, somebody providing it from a distance. That's one. And I think a second important point, which was also mentioned by Dinesh, was around maintenance and operation, maintenance and repair, and a short service window, seasonal window. Given these aspects, it's extremely important that these agri entrepreneurs are clustered in a there's a heavy high density clustering happening on the drone entrepreneurs. So if you were to have 40 to 50 drone entrepreneurs in a district and tehsil, right, actually a block level, then it becomes easy for the drone manufacturers or the drone companies also to service them. They can have one service engineer there who could provide high quality services as soon as the drones are repaired, or if there's a damage to the drones. So the downtime in repair and maintenance will be very quick. So from that point of view, it's important that these entrepreneurs are clustered. And again, this is exactly what we do. We develop the entrepreneurs in a cluster of 30 to 40 entrepreneurs per block and basis. So that's again another important point. And third, I think again Dinesh touched upon it: sustainability of drone entrepreneurs. A pure spraying business might be for about including 2 seasons. If you're lucky, 2 seasons, Kharif and Rabi. In many locations, it could be only 1 Kharif. So anywhere between 3 to 6 months of spraying service. And for an entrepreneur to sustain just on one income, would be very difficult. So I think that's where again we have to make it a complementary to other archetypes that the entrepreneur can do. Maybe an input shop, maybe a market linkage, or supplying animal feed to the farmers in the village. So if the entrepreneur, if he or she are operating 2 or 3 businesses, or 2 businesses at least, and then bring in a drone as a business to them, then it becomes very, very viable. So I think that's something we have to keep in mind. And so standalone, I would say standalone might work, but a combination of other businesses along with this at a village level will be more efficient. And last point, I think while there's a 10-day training, I was talking to Dr. Vidhu, also a DGCA mandated training, as well as some training on general agronomy and nozzle repair and spraying protocols and all. But I think the program that we operate as Agri Entrepreneur Program, we provide a 35-day comprehensive training, which includes completely, agronomy, integrated nutrient management, pest management, the entire modules of NIPHM are taught to the rural youth. So having a little bit of, I'm not saying this should not be a deterrent in scaling up the entrepreneurs, but but when we join forces, something like the foundation program together, then it becomes more efficient because the entrepreneurs are much more diverse set of knowledge, skill sets are provided to them. So these are the reasons why I think on the role of agri entrepreneurs is important in the drone scale up journey here, Stava. And coming to the challenges, I can only name 1 or 2 major challenges. One being a financing, credit available to rural youth for purchase of drones. Based on our experience in the last few years, access to finance is a big challenge because these are first-time entrepreneurs and first-time, rural youth trying to get bank loans for a business. So there are challenges associated with that. So especially around 5 to 6 lakhs of investment would be very high. One, I'm not factoring in the subsidy component here. Of course, the subsidy component comes in, that might be it might reduce the burden, but still it's a challenge. So I think all the stakeholders, whether it's input industry, the drone companies, and the ministry and others have to come together. Banks have to come together to design solutions which are where the credit is easily available to the entrepreneurs. That's one. And then the second one is around the subsidy. For individual entrepreneurs to avail subsidy is going to be extremely challenging. Due to various process and documentation. So the ideal way would be a kind of a single window clearance where either agri input companies or drone companies could aggregate for 100 entrepreneurs or 500 entrepreneurs the subsidy requirement and submit documents to the one single window clearance agent, single window clearance, and the agency could process the subsidy facilitation. The subsidy could directly go into the entrepreneur's bank account, but it's not necessary that the company should get it. But unless somebody plays that anchor role of facilitating the subsidy, it will be a challenge. The subsidy is the second thing. And the third point is, I think the challenge would be also how quickly we could look at developing more use cases for drones, especially around data collection, yield measurements, and surveying and other things, so that the business viability would come in quickly for the entrepreneurs. So I think these are the few challenges there. I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhaskar. You have talked about various interesting things like a cluster model of agro entrepreneurs and also integrated training. And you also identified some practical challenges, particularly with respect to access to finance and subsidy. So thank you for that. So now, as a natural progression on this particular topic, may I invite Mr. Smith Shah? You are there, Smith? Hi.
Hi.
Smith. So Smith is the executive director of the Drone Federation of India, DFI. Smith, I have two questions. The first question is related to what just Bhaskar identified, that it is not easy for a single entrepreneur to, access or apply for the subsidy. And I believe DFI has been identified by the Ministry of Agriculture as a nodal agency to help these micro entrepreneurs to develop their feasibility study or business plan or whatever it's called, and kind of facilitate this process. So maybe you can comment on, first of all, how well this subsidy scheme disbursement is moving, where we are, and how we can further smoothen this in connection with what Bhaskar just commented as a representative of entrepreneurs. And second question is, what are the ways of scaling up domestic manufacturing of drones? We recently had an import restriction coming up. At the same time, we had the PLI scheme. So how are these policy initiatives helping, and what are the other challenges to overcome to ensure that India really becomes a big manufacturing hub of drones, which also has a direct impact on what we are talking about today? Over to you, Smith.
Thanks, Asitava. So I'll take the liberty to answer the second question first on the policy front. So what's happened is India tried to regulate drones multiple times from 2014 to 2018. 2014 was first time when we banned it. 2018 we came up with a policy. 2021 March we came up with a policy. And most of the times what was happening is probably drones were being looked at more from a technology that can be used for the purpose of destruction. And that's how the entire license regime and control regime was coming in. But what we've been able to advocate is that the same car that is being used for transportation and the same truck that is being used for transportation and bringing about a lot of benefits to the economy also can be used in a very odd and a very rare scenario for planting a bomb. So just because in a rare scenario in 93 someone used vehicles to plant bombs, you didn't really ban the entire automobile industry. In fact, the very fact that the automobile industry brings about so much increase in the strength in the economy and the benefits that it gives to the citizens of the country, you've promulgated it, and then the other mechanisms to sort of regulate the unlawful substances have been strengthened. So that's what we've been able to advocate. And I did hear Asitava mention a lot of fantastic achievements that the government has done in the past few months as well. So that's what the tipping point was, to actually get everyone and sort of tell them that no rule or policy is going to stop anyone from making a drone, strapping some unlawful substance and doing some damage. Policy cannot stop you. You physically cannot lock everyone to not make a drone, which essentially means that any type of rule that you put, it's not going to be applicable on the bad actors. So that's how this entire discussion came in. And with the recent global experiences as well of drones being used for both economical as well as strategic purposes in the east and the west of India, it was understood that this technology is something that India has to own, and we need to own the intellectual property rather than just become a user and an importer. That's why these series of policy decisions have come in. The first key policy was making use of drones easy through Drone Rules 2021. Then, of course, a boost to domestic manufacturing of drones. So you actually bring about financial incentive. And for all my friends who've joined in and who might not be aware, there are production-linked incentive schemes for various industries, but the maximum incentive permissible is 5% incentive of your value addition. And then for 5 years, it keeps decreasing. So you have 5%, 4%, 3%, 2%, and 1%. Whereas for the drone industry, the government has been proactively saying, whatever is your value addition, the government will give you 20% of the value addition as the financial incentive. So you sell a drone for 100 rupees, you import components worth 40 rupees, the 60 rupees that you capture as your value addition and your profit margin, government is ready to give you 20% of the 60 rupees, as high as 20% consistently for 3 years. So that's the kind of focus and the entire incentive structure that government is creating. And lastly, to make sure that most people don't just blindly import components, there was brought about a blanket ban on the import of complete drone, which essentially means that you cannot import the drone as a whole. You cannot knock down or break down the drone and import it. But definitely you can be a local manufacturer. There is a dependency on import of some motors and batteries right now. All of that is allowed. So you can import probably 10 components from 10 different manufacturers and understand the design, own the design, and assemble a drone in India. And you will still be owning the intellectual property. You will be able to cater to the market. And once you've got a grip of your business, you will be able to start optimizing the cost and the business model, and then you will start indigenizing stuff. So that's what the government clearly understands. It's not really, that we have to make every cell, wire, battery, chip, everything in India. Yes, we have to, but not today. We have to own the intellectual property and the design, so that we at least have a framework of upgrading the technology and then moving towards indigenization, rather than just blindly talking about indigenization and not really doing anything about it. So I think I'm very proud and happy that it's the right structure of indigenization that the government has understood, and it's publicly sort of well understood that this is how we are going. So that's about the policy. Overall, any ecosystem that you talk about, you are either looking at ease of doing business, or you're looking at financial incentives, or you're looking at some sort of a protectionism. The drone industry, domestic industry, has been provided with all three of them. So you have ease of doing business. Anyone can buy a drone and register it via an online platform, and it takes about 5 minutes or so. In 90 to 95% of the country, if you have to fly the drone, especially for our purpose, which is agriculture, you absolutely don't have to ask anyone. You don't even have to ask the local police. Sometimes they may be confused because of the new rules, but by rule, you are not even allowed, you are not even supposed to inform the local police. You can fly wherever you want. The second point, which is about financial incentive, if you are making drones in the country and you own the intellectual property, government is ready to support you with disproportionate financial incentive, which is 20% of your value addition. And third, which is protectionism, which is if you are an Indian manufacturer, a foreign manufacturer cannot compete with you directly. They are not allowed to import their drones as a whole in the country. They have to partner with an Indian manufacturer or an Indian partner, or put a factory in India, which is good. People will learn from foreign manufacturers if they are too good, and then they will start their own companies. So that's about policy, Asitava. The second question was about the subsidy, and I would also want to join the financing aspect there. So we've had the pleasure of working with a few agri-drone manufacturers to actually try out how the finance support and the subsidy support will be given. And on the financing side, we have now understood how what kind of DPR and what kind of financial modeling has to be done. What is the expectation of the banks and the agriculture infrastructure fund in giving loans to an agri drone entrepreneur who would want to buy 1 or 2 drones and who would want to set up a Kisan drone service provider business or agriculture drone spraying business. So as a Drone Federation of India, we provide support to any of the customer at absolutely no cost. There is no goal of earning any money or something. So all our agri drone manufacturers can introduce their customers to us. We help the customer make the DPR, upload the application. Then we also make sure that the application can get cleared fast track. And we have discovered the entire process. We also have filed a few cases on in the agriculture infrastructure infra fund framework. So that's and we are expecting about 80 to 90% of financing, up to 2 crores for a single application. That's the tentative limit for drones. A typical agriculture spraying drone would cost anywhere around 10 lakhs plus spare parts. So if anyone wants to sort of take 1 or 2 drones, then definitely it's very easy to get financing support. The second one is about subsidy. As we all understand that the SMAM scheme is a centrally sponsored but state executed scheme. So the idea is to get guidelines and all worked out at the center, which already the ministry has worked, and they have been proactive in notifying them. Now we are moving towards the state government, where we are working with state agriculture departments, sensitizing them. And the idea would be that different state departments would come up with expression of interest or proposals, and we'll be empaneling a few drone manufacturers, so that anyone who wants to buy a drone under the subsidy program can work and take drone from one of these manufacturers. Now, why empanelment of drone manufacturers? Because under the rules of the government of India, you are supposed to test your drone, and your drone has to be QCI and DGCA approved. This is similar to the testing of an automobile in the automobile sector. So we want to ensure that while the government is talking about promoting and promulgating the drone business, we should not have a lot of people who are not taking care of safety and security and just randomly assembling parts, and then that drone falls on someone's head and the entire industry takes a step back. So that's the idea. And I would just request everyone to sort of work in a collaborative manner. I heard a lot of eminent speakers in this webinar, as well as in some of my interactions earlier during the week. A lot of people are talking about skilling programs. A lot of people are talking about entrepreneurship programs. The way to take a leapfrog growth and accelerate this agri-drone adoption would be to work collaboratively. Right now, there are handful of people who are spraying with drones in the country. We need to first make sure that this handful number becomes thousands and lakhs, and then probably worry about our market shares and all. So right now the time is about collaborating with each other, playing to each other's strength. And any company or any manufacturer, if they're looking at understanding the drone business, connecting with drone manufacturers, trying to avail the agri drone subsidy or the agri financing scheme, please reach out to us. We have a team who can help you out. That's it from my side. I'll be happy to wait on the webinar and look at some questions. Thanks, Asidava, for giving me this opportunity, and thanks, KG.
Thank you very much, Smith. I think, we talked about various developments. Particularly, I was not aware of this 20% value addition PLI, which is extremely, I would say, progressive. And also, you talked about how the subsidy scheme is rolling out, what you're doing with the state governments, and also very importantly talked about collaboration rather than market share at this stage, which is very interesting and correct. So we have two more speakers. First of all, I have to give them a chance before we see how much time we have for second round of question or take question from audience. So my next invited panelist would be Shailendra Singhji. Are you there, Mr. Singh?
Yes, I'm there.
Very good, sir. Thank you very much. Good to see you. So you represent FPO in Uttar Pradesh. So my question to you is, sir, how do you see the role of the FPO again as an important stakeholder to develop this conducive ecosystem? At the same time, what challenges do you see for FPOs and what support they might be, needing? So give us an FPO perspective in terms of their role in agrochemical spraying. Thank you.
Thank you, Asitava, and thanks Crop Life and Think AG for giving this opportunity to participate in this very interesting and latest concept webinar. As far as the FPOs are concerned, what I was listening to all other eminent panelists and I was able to gather, I see a very, very critical and significant role which can be played by the FPOs, particularly the two major areas which I can think of. One is, obviously, the first thing which comes to mind is that FPO is an aggregator of farmer groups. So definitely, we will be in a position to provide service to the group, service to the farmers for the spraying. And to enable that, actually, the policy framework is also supportive for FPOs. We have been listening about agri entrepreneurs and the challenges which they are going to, they are expected to face, or they are, maybe looking at. But some of those challenges, actually, if you really see, can be overcome if the FPO is becoming the service provider or the entrepreneur for the drone applications. The government is providing higher subsidy level. If I have understood it correctly, for FPOs it is 75%, and for individual farmers it is 50%. So that's an additional advantage which the FPOs has. FPO also has the financial ability to invest. They already are working, in most of the FPOs are working with the businesses, different businesses in their area, and they have linkage to the financial support system. The FPOs also, because they are village-based agencies or the groups, the one thing which one of the eminent panelists was talking about, the giving the opportunity to the local youth, local village people, so that the things are easier, simpler, and effective. So FPO definitely, I mean, our member farmers and their kids, lot of our farmer kids are getting trained, or they are in that position where the skill development activity can be done. So that's one part which we see is a straight answer to how the FPO can be participating in these new technology developments. Another thing which, if we talk about any of the new technology development, and Dinesh also touched upon on that, is it takes time, and you require a lot of feedback and data generation before you actually go as a final recommendation or in a final way. So FPOs, because if you start going to single individual farmers and start conducting the trials and demonstrations, vis-a-vis if you are engaging 2 or 3 FPOs in that process, you will get multiple location, multiple farmer data from a single point, single data point, single location, or single contact point, I would say. So that's another thing where we can be very helpful, and we have a lot of agri graduates and many of the people who have moved from different service parts, and they have come back to the farming, or they have started FPOs. So they have required skills which can provide the right kind of feedback. And because this would be coming from a farmer's perspective, a farmer, and we would be seeing the data based on the experience of the farmer, not only as a scientist or not only as a corporate who is just collecting the data. So the usability of that data or the authenticity of that data would definitely be better. That's my assumption. So these are 2 things which I can think of at this point of time, which actually it's a broad thing which I have talked about, and this has covered many of the challenges. This is kind of an answer to many challenges which were raised by Dinesh particularly, and I think that's what is going to be the answer. The government is supportive, the groups are there, we have the skills, we have the means, we have people, we have financial support, we know the structure. So definitely, if we are partnering with all these stakeholders and collaborating with all these stakeholders instead of an individual farmer, definitely the impact is going to be much better. Coming to the second question, Asitava, on the challenges, definitely 2 key challenges which I see. One of the challenge which is the regulatory compliance, and we have other eminent panelists have also talked about the single window clearance system for the approvals as well as for the subsidy. I mean, yes, FPOs are connected, but I mean, there are a lot of complexities which are related to the subsidy disbursement, and if we have this thing cleared out, I think that would be much better. Second challenge, which I can think of, is again collaborating with the right players, having a right approaching the right people at the right platform, because FPOs, a lot of FPOs are working, they are doing business, but many of them, they really do not know where to connect in terms of the new technology aspects. So that would be another challenge if the FPO is approaching the right people, the right companies, and if the right kind of technical information is being gathered by them for the implementation. That I see as a second major challenge. So
These are two things which I have tried to answer your both the questions. I hope I have been able to answer that. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much, Asitava.
Thank you, Shailendra-ji, for giving the perspective on FPOs. Yeah, I think you mentioned a very good point about FPO being a kind of aggregator of for other stakeholders to generate data, to do trial, etc., in a planned manner. You also talked about a couple of challenges, particularly with respect to the connection. How can you connect FPOs across the nation with the other stakeholder pairs? So maybe we can seek some role of agencies like SFSE, or I believe there is a FPO as nodal national association now under Mr. Pravesh Sharma. So we can see and involve some of those agencies so that they also take cognizance of this particular service among various others that FPOs can offer. Thank you very much. Next question is to Mr. Deepak Bharadwaj. Deepak, you're there?
Yeah, hi, Asif, I'm here.
Hi. You are last, but certainly not the least. So there is some echo coming in. Okay, I don't know. I can hear my own voice. So anyway, Deepak, I'll just come with the couple of questions. Particularly from the perspective of IoTech world. Just highlight some of the use cases where you are actually working on demos or pilots. What is the experience of those that you are conducting for agrochemical spraying? I'm sure with other stakeholders. And particularly, one question to you is with respect to demand generation. How do you see demand being generated and what can be done? And I don't know whether you can also comment on business models that are coming up for operators.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for inviting me. And Asif, I'm sorry, Miss. I may tweak the questions and answers according to me actually, because I'm going to add my some input, some my experiences. So the thing is, like we all discuss a lot of problems here, but trust me, there is no problem. So most of the problems are taken care by the Honorable Prime Minister of India. So he has actually he has taken interest in this drone application. He has eased out everything. He has given us, the manufacturer, this PLI incentives. He's going to ease out this GST, which will again reduce 12% of GST cost of the drone. So that way, drones are definitely going to be very economical. Need not to be worried about that. And as far as experience with the different stakeholders is concerned, so we have done testing on drones in different part of this country and on almost all the crops of this country, except a few like arecanut or you can say this date kind of crops. So in all the crops, it works very well. Need not to worry about that. Results are very encouraging. Be it grape, be it maize, be it wheat, be it paddy, whatever you think you can think of. We have tried on everything, and the results are really encouraging. And the happiest stakeholder is actually the farmer. So we got a lot of greetings from different areas farmer. And our team is now present in 10 strategic states of this country. And every day we are giving demonstration to thousands of farmers. And we have drones in these all states. We have dealer distributor network now in all these states, who are again increasing the education level. So the main thing which I think we need to do is we need to work on generating the demand. So with the help of DFI, we are trying to provide finance to all the micro entrepreneurs, the agri entrepreneurs, and rural entrepreneurs. And then we are connecting with FPOs with the help of different government agencies, CHCs. So we are trying to develop RPTOs. So we are waiting for little clearance from DGCA. Once it is done, we will be opening different RPTOs in different areas of this country. And we will be training farmers at very low cost, very affordable cost across this country. And our target is, after getting approval, in the next 12 months, we'll be training somewhere not less than 10,000 pilots. And after that, we would need support of all the PPC company present here. So all the big names are here, like Bayer, Syngenta, and Tata, I've seen. So if they help us in aggregating the demand, like you people have very good and strong hold in different states, and you have very loyal farmers with you. So once you are done with the testing,
sorry.
Yeah, so once you are done with your testing, so we can together aggregate the demand, we can give business to the entrepreneurs. So that is the only thing which they ask for. As far as affordability is concerned, so drone is, even if the drone is of 10 lakh rupees, after availing all the benefits, it becomes a 5 lakh rupees item. And on that, if you get 90% interest, so it's barely 50,000 rupees which you have to pay. And the EMI is somewhere around 25,000 maximum. And if against that, I give a business of, say, like 1 lakh rupee to a farmer, so it doesn't matter actually. It's not a big deal. And over that, we are definitely going to indigenize all the drone components in India, which we are already doing, and drone cost will for sure go down. And the biggest cost is of battery, and battery we are doing a lot of development, a lot of research, and will definitely reduce the per acre cost of service provider. Need not to worry about that. So it's not me, it's the drone industry. Basically, everybody is doing the same thing. So from drone industry, I can assure you that Indian drone industry is maturing day by day, and they are everybody is evolving, and we will definitely make it a independent country as far as drone is concerned. And the only thing is, means I will request Asitwa, you personally, because you are the key role player in this country right now, and you are connected with all the PPC companies, you are connected with the DFI, government, and people like us. So if you help us in generating the demand, we can generate business for the farmers and their new generation, and this drone will become a very successful story in this country for sure. And one thing more I want to share, drone is, means it's, everybody is saying drone is just, it's a very simple machine. It's just a spraying machine. There is no magic inside it. Of course, it is very intelligent machine. It sprays very uniform. It gives very good results. It gives results better than the knapsack or other spraying mechanism available right now. But it is very easy machine. Anybody who can understand a smartphone, it can easily fly a drone. Need not to worry about that. It's very easy. Trust me. And every farmer, any farmer can fly it. We have trained farmers who cannot speak even English, and their Hindi was also not so good, but we have trained them, and now they are training different people. They are giving demonstration to different people. So those things we will take care. We can make it in any language. We are a manufacturer, and we need support from the CPP companies. If you give us some feedback, we will definitely adopt that. We will make it easy for the farmers to use. We will make it as per your requirement, your chemicals. Everything is possible, and just we need to collaborate, as Smith very well said. So once we collaborate, we can we can fight with any kind of problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deepak, for putting your point of view across. So we have covered everybody. We are at 5:40. We have to close at 6. So I believe we have 15 minutes time for Q&A, and I will ask a few questions which we have got in the chat box or the Q&A box. Obviously, we can't answer all the questions today because of shortage of time, but you're free to have this dialogue going on. So maybe I should ask one question quickly before getting into the audience question. Ashish, can I ask this question to you, if it is okay with you? You are being a major player in the service drone as a service model. So any thoughts on how business models are evolving? So how viable is this for an operator in terms of the cost? I mean, the investment he has to make to buy the drone, for his manpower, other setups, given the catchment area demand, how many farmers are ordering, seasonality, crops, and non-agrochemical spraying applications. So any short answer on how business models are developing, because unless it is viable, it's not going to be sustainable.
Yeah, I think short answer is nobody can predict what will be a viable business model. But to go into details, the cost of hardware, as some of the panel members have pointed out, is high. Government subsidies will help to break even that fixed cost. However, what I see is over the last few months, 3 to 4 nuanced business models have started emerging. The first one is, an independent spraying services company, which will buy that drone, generate demand, collect revenues from farmers. This is an independent model. And there are pros and cons. This model will have a complete control over the quality of delivery. However, they might face issues of clustered demand generation or financing as they start scaling up. A hybrid version of this model version could be, a big organization, agrochemical or fertilizer or machinery, incubating such an independent startup. The second model is, farmer to farmer services. It's very interesting that a lot of farmers have directly approached us to, with inquiries of buying drones themselves. And we see, even it's too early to predict whether this model will prevail. The enthusiasm is there and only time will tell. But the advantage of this model, farmer to farmer services model, is they obviously get the subsidies for hardware, but they also have an inherent advantage of local connect. Drone spraying operations are going to be very local, it's seasonal, and these are very time-bound operations. So he will have his local connect and he will be able to execute this locally at a very low operational cost. So the challenge today of, the cost of execution to the willingness of a farmer to pay for this service, this equation doesn't hold. Now the challenge with this model is the farmer himself will need quite a bit of time to become expert at drone flying, chemical protocols, and there will be a lot of learning needed from his side. The third model is an FPO buying this drone and then offering spraying services to its member farmers. The advantage here is with other models, a clustered demand generation would need quite a bit of work. With an FPO, a fairly guaranteed demand from FPO members is available. Obviously, it will have subsidies available. The last version is, it's still nuanced. There are differences. In order to help the farmer or a rental entrepreneur, he may not be a farmer, but a pure businessman who wants to get into drone spraying services, he might act as an execution arm of a machinery or chemical company. He may start by buying one drone, and then based on the revenues that he collects and the comfort that he has in executing those sprays, he might expand it to 2 to 4 drones over time eventually. Now, again, there are subtle nuances, in terms of, advantages with each of these models. I believe a lot of which model will prevail will really depend on, how much thrust big organizations put behind each of these models. One, how much of VC money gets involved into, funding these independent spraying startups or spraying companies. Hope that answers your question, Asita.
Yeah, it answers the question very, very nicely. In fact, the jury is still out, which is the business model that will survive. But at least you talked about 5 different models, which are very interesting to hear, and also, the external parameters which will determine whether VC money and other things that you just talked about, policy support, large agrochemical, large corporate houses' interest in investing in some of these startups. All these are extremely important factors. So one more question I have received from audience, and this question I can ask to Dinesh from Bayer, which is that, Dinesh, you're there?
Yeah, Sitava.
The question is, are there possibilities of specific agrochemical formulations for specific crops which are suitable only for drone spraying? So what the question means to ask is whether any company is developing, whether it is viable to develop a better, safer, more effective product which is meant only for application through drones. I would understand that mostly companies will do dual purpose given the scale of drone and the time it will take, which can be sprayed both conventionally and through drones. But are there any drone specific potential applications? What is the learning coming from elsewhere in the world?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be happy to share this, Stava. In fact, I mean, first of all, to set our requirements right, I mean, majority of the formulations which is available, the current formulations, in fact, by our portfolio which we have, more than 90% formulations are drone compatible. I mean, when we say compatible, I mean, there are different aspects of checking the compatibility. I mean, because it's a ultra low volume formulations that we are talking about, whether formulation is stable, any coagulation, any sedimentation is there, whether it will block the nozzles of the drone. So more than 95% formulations, barring one or two formulations particularly, majority is kind of compatible for drone applications, which serves our requirement going forward. After the compatibility, once the plant safety, bioefficacy, residue, all the regulatory parameters are served, those labels will also be acquired to spray in respective crops wherever we have the label. Precisely on ULV formulations for that matter, yes, there are projects and there are research are undergoing, but then, I mean, it's a long shot at this point in time because, I mean, efforts are there. How fast it can come, I mean, it's pretty far at this point in time, frankly speaking. But then essentially the existing formulations is there to kind of fill that gap very nicely. Yeah, I hope that answers.
Yes, that answers the question nicely, Dinesh. So one more question which I saw, this is to Dr. Vidhu from NIPHM, if you are still there, sir. And one of the question was, what is the cost of this training, that module that you talked about, both for DGCA approval as well as the agrochemical part? Any pricing has been carried out?
Fine. Actually, as of now, we have not come to the pricing at present because we are still awaiting for the approval from DGCA. The mandatory license part, it has to be approved by DGCA. So we have not come to the correct, but in industry standards, if you see most of the institutes as of now, around 12 to 14 institutes are there who are giving the training for the mandatory, because nobody is doing their agrochemical spraying training as of now. All the other players are charging something like 45,000 to 60,000 for a 5-day module. So our training also, including this agrochemical spraying, also will be in that range only, maybe around 50 to 75,000 or something like that. But we have not come up. Mostly, very soon we will be publishing all the details, the registration process, everything in our website and through all the social media.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you, sir. So one question now to Smith. This is also I'm reading out from the Q&A. Smith, the question is, how many drone manufacturers have been impaneled? You talked about the QCI and DGCA approval and all that. So how is that shaping up for agrochemical spraying specifically? Are there a significant number of impaneled players? Smith, are you there? Anyone else wants to take this question? Deepak, are you aware of this?
Yeah, can you come again?
No, my question was, how many empaneled drone manufacturers are currently there? Smith was talking about empanelment of manufacturers based on QCI and DGCA approval.
Yeah. So right now on DGCA portal, you can see the approved drone manufacturers. So one is us, one is General Aeronautic, So such kind of companies are already approved. And as far as QCI is concerned, yeah, the things are going on, and QCI is also learning, and we are also learning from them. So there are many stringent requirements which is very difficult to fulfill. So, but one thing I can tell you, like Agribot is fulfilling almost all the requirements, and I think very soon many companies will be approved from QCI. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we still have 5 more minutes for Q&A. So Hemendra, any question which comes to your mind?
Yeah, Asita, I think one question which came up again in the chat box also is how does mechanical spraying compare with drone spraying? Pros and cons in terms of efficacy as well as cost. So I don't know if any of the panelists want to take this up.
Yeah, I think, again, I think maybe Deepak can talk about it. But as far as I know, studies show, Hemendra, that it's 20 times more efficient. So in a given amount of time, you actually can spray, but obviously at a higher cost. So how does the cost economics work? Anybody? Ashish, I see you, either you or maybe Ashish, you go ahead first.
Yeah, I think there are some subtle points. Drone is definitely faster than a tractor mounted or a self-propelled sprayer. However, there some crops and use cases will naturally suit a tractor mounted sprayer and some will suit a drone sprayer. Let me give an example of this. For orchard crops where the diseases manifest underneath the canopy, it would be best for a tractor mounted sprayer to spray. What will happen with drone is the thrust that is needed for the droplets to reach the lower in the canopy or to reach the stem of berries would not be possible. We have done quite a few experiments with this. One advantage of tractor is the pressure that it generates. It's able to force these droplets across the entire crop canopy spectrum. The disadvantage of a tractor beyond the speed is the soil compaction that it will cause in orchard segment, and drones will do away with that. Drones, I feel, would be much more naturally suited for short length crops, vegetables, maybe even paddy, where you don't need to really go to the ground to be able to control the disease. For taller crops, pomegranates and mangoes and grapes, I think tractor mounted sprayers would be more suitable. However, having said that, we don't know how the tech and drone hardware will evolve over the next few years. We might get larger tank capacities, more reliable drones. You never know. But this is how I see the advantage and disadvantage of tractor versus drone sprayer.
Thanks, Ashish. I think this is very useful. One follow-on quick question. In US, we have seen companies like Blue River who uses optical cameras and image processing along with drones. So you identify the weed and spray the weedicide. Do you see potential for that in Indian market, or is it too far-fetched?
Yeah. So these the case that you described leverages artificial intelligence technology to detect weeds on a farm, and then a signal is sent to the nozzle of a sprayer. It just switches on and off, so it targets that individual weed. Now there are subtle nuances. The weed pressure in India is extremely high. What happens in US is there is a winter season where ground is covered with snow, which almost kills or subdues the biodiversity during that season. What happens in India is summer and rainy, the biodiversity is extremely rich. There is extremely high pest and disease intensity in India. Now, to give you an example, in Madhya Pradesh, it's difficult to identify soybean crop from amongst the weeds that grow around it. So it's going to be tough for that technology. However, such a technology can be used to kill weeds early on after germination, where the weeds are competing with the plants for nutrients. That is when the land is tilled and weeds are emerging. It could also be used for specific spot spraying if you are able to capture a particular grid on which there is a hot spot and save chemicals. So I think the model from US can't be directly shifted directly to India, but of course this technology can be customized to suit Indian specific use cases.
Thanks, Ashish. It's been very precise, and thank you very much. Over to you, Asitava.
Asitava, you're on mute.
I'm sorry that. So I was just saying that we have done well on time, and we are going to finish in time, which is a good achievement. Compliments to all of you. With about 10, 11 of us, it's not easy to stick to the time. So I think I will now request all of us to, maybe if possible, switch on your camera so that we are all there together, at least the panelists. And I would like to hand over to Raman Ahuja, who is the director of ThinkAg, to maybe give a vote of thanks and also any one or two specific observations which we take away from this discussion. Over to you, Raman. Over to you, Raman.
Thanks, Asitava. And I think thanks for moderating a very, very exciting panel. You had. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there was some disconnection in between, but now
Hello?
we can.
Am I audible?
Now you're audible, yeah. But you're frozen, so maybe you can switch off your camera.
Okay, great. I think the topic is. I think that the topic is very, very timely, and among the different technologies in AgTech that have been out there now for the last 5, 7, 8 years, people are expecting this to show a lot more promise because the benefits are quite visible. I'm not going to talk about the cost because there's a lot to be discovered on the cost. The benefits from environment perspective, the benefits from crop health perspective and human health perspective. So I think there is an urgent need to fast track the work to be done to discover the operating models. I think Ashish has done his bit to lay out 3, 4 different models that they see. Obviously, there'll be a lot of nuanced models, as Bhaskar has pointed out. There is a role that can be played by platforms like ThinkAg and CropLife. And I think we will be happy to take suggestions from everybody to actually build on our discussions today. We've got phenomenal support from the government. So I think there is a lot more that can be done. The regulatory space is now pretty clear for deploying drones. And all the other institutional arrangements are coming in place. So there is a lot that needs to be done. And I think it's going to be a combination of business and doing some public good creation that will have to happen in parallel. Usually those things don't happen in parallel. Business finds its own profit motive and public good kind of follows where it needs to fill gaps. But here is one place where I think these things need to happen in parallel. And I think everybody's open to learning. What we've heard from the government in the past few months and also today, everybody's keen to learn. And I think we should also put together a compendium of case studies as they evolve and keep sharing them in the ecosystem so that evidence-based design of policy can be pursued. So with those few words, I just want to thank all of you for your time. And as my colleague Hemendra said in the beginning, this is the first of the many that we will host. And I think this is an area where we will see a lot of action in the coming months. And hopefully the action on the ground will be followed by more and more investments. So looking forward to remaining in touch with all of you. And I urge all of you to write to us at ThinkAg with your thoughts on what platforms like ThinkAg and CropLife can do to accelerate the adoption of drones. Thank you again, and All the best.
I also want to thank Abhijit, our colleague Abhijit, who's put in a lot of effort along with Joydeep and Asitava in putting this together. So just want to acknowledge his contribution before we conclude.
Absolutely. Both Abhijit and Joydeep did a stellar job in managing the back end. And I think we are finishing right on time, 6:01. So congratulations and see you again very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.